Did you hear about the rose that grew from the crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws wrong and learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from the crack in the concrete when no one else ever cared. And like the 650,000 people tonight in the Bay Area who can't afford basic necessities, or the 49% of Latino families tonight in the Bay Area that can't afford basic necessities, or the 44% of black families tonight in the Bay Area that can't afford basic necessities, as a child growing up in Stockton, California, with a teenage mother and a father who was still incarcerated, that poem from the late poet Tupac gave me much hope. This idea, if I worked incredibly hard and pulled myself up by my bootstraps, I could one day be mayor of my hometown, was very motivating. But I know over the past couple of weeks, we've all asked the question, why is tonight different than other nights? And I think tonight is different than other nights because we understand that roses actually don't grow from concrete. That's incredibly asinine and a little bit ridiculous to expect that young people in our communities, with all the odds stacked against them, when wages have not kept up with the cost of living, when we pay people literally poverty wages, where we have nomenclature like terms like the working poor, to expect that people could bootstrap themselves out, inspire themselves out, or work incredibly hard out of poverty. And that's why this community is so powerful, and that's why this community is so special. And I think that's why tonight is different than other nights, because we understand that it's not that one rose growing from concrete is actually failure. That one person making it is actually not a success story. That one person beating all the structural odds doesn't mean we've been successful. And that's why Daniel formed the Tipping Point community not that long ago. And tonight we are, oh, go ahead and clap for that. That was good. And tonight I'm so inspired to be here as a board member because it's very clear to me that I'm in a room of 900 people committed to gardening, committed to tearing up the concrete and planting roses where they're supposed to grow, in soil, on rose bushes, where they're nurtured, where there's fertilizer, where people are pruning to the weeds. I'm inspired to be here tonight because I'm in a room of folks who understand that charity is not the same as justice, that programs are great as they lead to policy, that like talent and intellect are truly universal, but resources and opportunities are not. And your support of Tipping Point has made things like guaranteed income closer to reality in our Bay Area, in our state, and our nation. Your support of Tipping Point has made things like baby bonds possible. Your support of Tipping Point illustrates to everyone that the delta between what we know works and what we do can be filled by committed individuals, because we know that poverty in the Bay Area, that the 3.7 million people in poverty in California aren't there because of lack of character or a lack of ability, but are there simply because of lack of cash. We know that people are homeless and unsheltered, not because they lack character, but because they lack housing. We also know that we don't have to drug test people. Did I go there? Yes, I did. We don't have to drug test people for benefits that they need to survive and be human. So tonight, Tipping Point community, it's an honor to be here with you all because we're doing the important work of changing the narrative. I think the theme tonight is there is more to the story. And yes, there is, but what's powerful about tonight is that this story is one we can write together, provided we are committed to solutions, provided that we're committed to being uncomfortable, provided we are committed to unlearn all the harmful ideologies and lies we've been taught about why people have so much and why people have so little. So as I conclude, And as we do this hard work of gardening together, I'm reminded of 13 years ago, I was on the Freedom Rides with some of the original Freedom Riders. And one man, his name was Bob Singleton, he looked at me and he said, Michael, I was arrested on August 4th, 1961. Why is that day important? And I thought he was fishing for a compliment. So I looked at him and I was like, well, thank you for your sacrifice, bro. I appreciate it. I know if it's not for you, I would not be here. And then he laughed and he said, no, son, on that day, Barack Obama was born. And then he said he had no idea that the choice he made as a 21-year-old at the time to say that roses shouldn't grow from concrete, that we have to at least start the process of starting a rose garden, would pave the way so a child born with no opportunity, 50 years later, will have the chance to be president. And then he looked at me as I'm looking at you, and he said, what are you prepared to do today so that 50 years from now, a child has more opportunity than you had? And fellow gardeners, Tipping Point community, that's the question that I know animates the work of the staff at Tipping Point. I think that's the question that we all have to ask ourselves as co-gardeners, co-laborers, and supporters. It's what are we prepared to do? Well, today you're going to dance to Nelly and TLC, so maybe not today. But what are you prepared to do tomorrow, next week, next year, so that 50 years from now, there's not 650,000 people in the Bay Area who can't meet their basic needs, so that the folks who prepared our food, who served our food, can afford to live in the community in which they work, so that 49% of Latino families in the Bay Area and 3.7 million families in California are now able to meet their basic needs. What are we prepared to do today so that 50 years from now, when we plant roses, we know we're planting them in soil that we've toiled, that we've nurtured, that's conducive for growth, and are no longer being excited or feeling great about roses growing from concrete.